AEW charts #1 on all of cable for Blood and Guts. We talk about that, the actual show itself, AEW being back on the road, touring once again, going to Miami and Texas. My thoughts on them going back on the road. AEW raging war on content creators. I know, it sounds like an AEW episode. But we're also going to talk about some New Japan Pro Wrestling, them shutting down because of COVID, but not just New Japan, Stardom, Dragon Gate, DDT, you name it. SmackDown, I did briefly check out this week. I'll give my thoughts on that. MLW coming around and why I might start getting into the promotion. And finally, I saw a post online regarding 50 fan wrestling questions that I want to answer because I forgot to ask you guys to ask me questions. That all being said, guys, this is the 46th edition of the Chill Spill Podcast. The S is silent, by the way. Yo, what is going on, guys? It is your boy Tyler Mask, aka Suplex. That's SOOPLEX on TikTok at SOOPLEXX on Twitch, aka Tyler Kuhn Williams, aka the one who lived. And guys, welcome back to the 46th edition of the Chill Spill Podcast. So that is pill spelled with an S, but it's silent, much like my Blue Yeti microphone, because I am no longer on that thing. If you guys, hopefully you guys can tell by the audio quality difference, I'm on a new microphone. I finally buckled down, got the money to invest in a new microphone. I got the Shure, that's SHURE, the Shure MV7 microphone. It cost me, I believe, like $250. Not $2.50, $250. It was definitely up there, but I'm loving it. This is my first podcast with this microphone, so hopefully all the audio levels are going to be good. You guys are going to be like, damn, this is like sex in my ears. Like, use this microphone more often. I could be like, yeah, well, I have it, and you're going to hear it more often. And that way, everything improves. I'm always striving to improve the quality of my content, even though sometimes I go through some days, because depression ain't fun. But I'm always aiming to improve. And audio quality is something that I definitely been wanting to improve on, because as you guys turn up to my live streams, podcasts, whatever, there are times where it takes one bump and my microphone gets unplugged and then you guys can't hear me. And then if no one says anything, then I don't know. And I got sick and tired of doing that. So I had to buckle down and actually buy a new microphone. I'm like, well, I don't want to buy the same microphone. You know what I mean? Like if you buy a microphone, or really, and it comes to any equipment, normally you want to buy something better. You're not going to buy the same exact thing unless it was like perfect and nothing's wrong with it. But even if it's perfect, like you always want to strive for better. So it's like if I'm buying a new microphone, I'm upgrading. So I'm going to buy something better. Not something worse, not the same, but something better. And I heard astounding reviews of the Shure microphone. So this is where I'm at right now. I plan to buy a podcast mixer very, very soon, because big announcement here. I announced it on Twitter, I announced it on YouTube, and I'm announcing it here on the podcast. Guys, finally, I've been working on this project for months. It's been in work for such a long time, and it's finally coming together. I'm happy to announce another podcast that I'm going to be a part of that is called the Botched 3 Counts Podcast. That is BOTCHED space 3 dash COUNT, the Botched 3 Count Podcast. And I'm really excited for this podcast because I don't know anybody else who's doing it right now, but it is a 3-person podcast, so it's not just me like the Chill Spill Podcast. The Chill Spill Podcast will likely always remain a 1-person podcast. It will likely always just be me. But I'm actually really excited to do a multi-person podcast, and that I don't have to put all that pressure on myself to, carry the entire show, which I do on my YouTube channel all the time. I actually get to, spread out the workload a bit. But basically, the podcast is going to be 3 people. Myself, it's a wrestling-based podcast. It's the Chill Spill Podcast. Even though I talk about wrestling on a podcast, it is not technically a wrestling podcast. Like, I am free to talk about anything else on this podcast that I want to. I want to talk about Invincible, but I'll wait until I'm actually finished the season. I'm not finished the season yet. I'm on episode 5. It's a fucking great show, and I can't wait to talk about it. Probably by like episode 47, 48, I'll actually get a chance to review Invincible. But I could talk about anything. I just talk about wrestling because that's what I like to talk about, and I don't really, not really watching anything that's worth talking about right now. So I'm just talking about wrestling here, but this is a wrestling-based podcast. It's going to be me and my two friends, who I'm not going to say their names because I don't know if they want to go by their real names or by like an alias, because I don't know if some of you noticed, Tyler is technically not my real name, but it's what I go by when I'm online. So I don't know what they're going to go by, so I'm just saying my friends. But basically, it's myself, a wrestling fan. I want to say hardcore wrestling fan, but I feel like I watch less wrestling now than I have in years past. And I'll be exploring that on the Botched 3 Count podcast and why is that. I can't call myself a hardcore wrestling fan at this point. A lapsed wrestling fan, basically somebody who used to be a fan of wrestling, but is no longer a fan of wrestling. And then someone who has never seen wrestling. It was very, very hard. Like, I would have done this podcast a long time ago if I would have just stuck with a fan and lapsed fan, but I really, really wanted to get the perspective of somebody who has never even watched wrestling. Now, it's not completely 100% true because he has seen one wrestling match that I showed him months ago. But I'm calling him that because outside of that one match I've shown him, which he barely was watching, he's never seen wrestling. He has no concept of what wrestling, like pro wrestling, is supposed to, like, obviously he has the concept of what it is, but he has no concept of what it's supposed to be, what it's supposed to, be simulated as, why it works, how it works. So it's going to be really fun for me to kind of explain and break down to these two what it is, especially to the non-pro wrestling fan, what it is, because the lapsed fan obviously knows what pro wrestling is because he was a fan at one point. But, he doesn't know what pro wrestling is now. He stopped watching like years ago. So having to re-explain that to him and then getting their takes on like why they stopped watching. Why did the other fan not watch at all? Like, you can't go your life not knowing what pro wrestling is. So, like, why did you actively not watch it at all? And, it's going to be really fun because that's going to be the first episode. But episodes after episode 0, it's going to be us watching wrestling, of course. Like, the first episode we're actually debating on right now, what's going to be the first, wrestling show to watch. Because we're not going to be reviewing Raw and SmackDown, NXT, and AEW every single week. Like, every episode is going to be a new show to watch. Like, I'm talking between AEW and WWE. Like, which one do I show them first? I'm thinking maybe I want to show them Double or Nothing 2019 first, but then I'm like, maybe I should show them like WrestleMania 37. Like, I don't know, because WWE is like where you start. Like, when you start watching wrestling, most often you're gonna start with WWE. Like, I don't know many people who start like, oh, my first exposure to wrestling was New Japan Pro. Like, unless you live in Japan or live in a different country, most people's first exposure to pro wrestling is WWE. So probably WWE. Then, like, the next episode is AEW. Then the next episode might be, like, the Attitude Era. Then the next episode might be, like, the Golden Era. Then the next episode might be, like, WCW. Then the next episode might be New Japan. Like, we're gonna go to different cultures, different decades, different years, different ages, different companies. We're not just gonna be centered on, we're gonna review just this one product, and that's what, like, no. We're going to stretch the boundaries and really explore what pro wrestling is, and maybe we'll get different perspectives. Like, we'll take a wrestler on and like they'll explain it to us, and like I'm so excited for this idea, and we're going to be taping it this week. I don't know when the episode is going to drop. I don't know when, but we're going to be taping the episode 0 this week, and then we'll be taping weeks following. Right now, the plan is to be a bi-weekly podcast. We're not going to be doing it every single week because all three of us work. So we got to actually figure out when we'll have the availability to actually watch these shows, actually get a review in. So we'll be doing it bi-weekly for right now. But episode 0 will be dropping either, if not this weekend, next week. That is the estimation, not a confirmation. Oh, I like that. Not an estimation, but an estimation, not a confirmation. But you guys get the point. The Botched 3 podcast, there is no YouTube channel up yet. The episode 0 will be going up on the Tyler Kuhn Williams channel, but episodes 1, 2, 3 onwards will be going up on podcasting platforms, and clips will be going up on the Tyler Kuhn Williams channel, but the Botched 3 Count podcast will be going up on YouTube, on our own YouTube channel, and then on podcasting platforms like Podbean, Spotify, Mixer, all that stuff. Was it Stitcher? Stitcher, not Mixer. Mixer. Anyway, I'm really excited about this. I hope you guys go and check it out. Do me a favor if you're listening right now. Do yourself a favor. Go to Twitter right now. And what is our @? Why did I not know our @? I probably should have wrote this down before I actually started. And go to Twitter and search up @Botched Recount. That is @BOTCHED 3 COUNT. And follow us on Twitter. And yeah, with all that out the way, all the plugging out the way, let's now get into the rest of the podcast. So we're going to talk about AEW to start. Blood and Guts was last week. And before I get into Blood and Guts, because I was not able to go live for the show, I had scheduling issues, which have now been resolved. And I'm actually happy to say that my schedule has not only been resolved, but it's going to start getting changed in the coming weeks, where I actually might be more available to do streams, like actual streams in the evenings. But I can't really confirm that yet. That's what we're working towards. But hopefully, if that is the case, I'll be confirming that in a future episode. That is my hoping, because I'm really, really, really passionate about streaming. But the thing is, with my shifts and the shifts I get now, I don't have time to stream. I only have time to stream when I'm off. So that if I get the shifts that I want to get, I will have time to stream and likely have time to actually make videos as well. It's always been about my schedule, not about like, oh, I don't, care. Like I just don't have a lot of time to do this stuff. So that is also some personal stuff that I'm not going to talk too much about. But back into AEW here. Blood and Guts was last Wednesday. I did not catch it, as I just said, live. But I was able to catch it on playback on Thursday evening, and I enjoyed the show. I'll talk review in a bit. But one big news coming out of it is that the show did an average of 1.090 million viewers. Now, some people saw this as a disappointment because they expected Dynamite to do something like, 1.3, 1.5. Some people were outrageous thinking like, oh, it's going to do 2 million. I never for a second thought it was going to hit 2 million viewers. Like, I tweeted out something like, if Dynamite hits 2 million viewers, I'll show my dick. But which is a troll tweet. But I tweeted that out because it's like, bro, y'all obviously don't believe it's going to hit 2 million viewers, right? Like, I don't know if AEW is ever going to get to 2 million viewers. I feel like we know what the core audience is. Botchamania over here. We know what the core audience is for AEW. It's like that slot between 800,000 and 1 million. Now, when it was just Dynamite NXT on Wednesdays, it was kind of slotted between 900,000 and 700,000. But now that it's just on Wednesdays standalone by itself, we know that they can actually achieve 1 million viewers depending on the card, depending on the build-up, depending on what's going on with the, what's going on that later that night, what's going on. Because, as much as I hate it when fans always use the excuse of, oh, this was going on later that night, and that's why Dynamite fell. Oh, the presidential debate. Oh, this. Oh, NFL playoffs. Oh, NBA this. Oh, like there's always some excuse for as to why wrestling can't do good. And it's just like, no, wrestling is just a dying niche. Calm down. But I will say, to agree with them, there are some proven nights, like a presidential debate or a presidential announcement, where wrestling will do poorly because wrestling is not that important. And I believe the week before that, when they had the presidential, conference with Joe Biden, Dynamite didn't do so well. But they went back up this week to 1.90. And that may have been also because Blood and Guts was, a very hyped up show they've been building up to for months and months and months. And we've really, you could say a year now, because a year ago was when it was supposed to happen, but then COVID fucked it all up. But they're up to 1.09. But then the bigger news of this is the demos. Now, I never talk about the demos because I honestly don't care that much about ratings. So demos definitely don't matter to me. But they drew a demo of 0.42 in 18 to 49 demos, which is great. I believe it's their second highest demo, second behind their first episode ever, which was back in October 2019. And that's up 27.3% from last week's of 0.33, which charts them as number one on cable for Wednesday, May the 7th, which, big victory for AEW. That's the first time they ever charted number one on cable for Wednesday. I mean, we always heard this from back in the day, years past. Monday Night Raw, number one on cable, beating out the NFL, the NBA, the WNBA, the MLB, the NHA. Like, You heard those stats every single week. Michael Cole would say it, da-da-da-da-da. But being able for AEW to say that, it's just a really cool feeling. Because like I always say, wrestling, I hate saying wrestling is a dead niche, but it really is a dying niche. Like, we have 1 million here, 1 million on Raw, and then 2 million on SmackDown. You combine a number, that's like 5, maybe. We get 5 million on average viewers. And trust me, about 3.5 million of those 5 are the same people watching all 4 of those shows. As opposed to in years past, you had upwards of 9 million people watching Monday Night Raw all alone in 1999. So that's just to show you just how low we've fallen. But seeing that Dynamite charted number 1 it just gives me hope. It gives me hope for wrestling. But I'm happy to see that they charted. Before I talk about Blood and Guts last week, I also want to talk about AEW being back on the road. Tony Khan has been kind of, hinting at this for quite a while. Cody Rhodes has been hinting at this for a while, and fans have been wondering, when is Dynamite going to be back in front of crowds? Which, technically, they have been back in front of crowds for months now. But when will they be back in front of different crowds? Because, as you guys know, for the last... When did they start going back in front of crowds? When was that? Was that December, November? I think it was I think it might have been October or November was when they actually started going back in front of crowds. When they actually started going back in front of, people, it will only be at Daly's place. And, some fans will get angry, like, oh, why can't they come here? But I'm like, guys, they can't travel. I mean, they could technically travel if they wanted to, but you don't want to take that risk. But now, in May of 2021, we're actually back on the road. Tony Khan put out a press conference about this yesterday on Twitter, and they announced that starting July 7th, they will be touring. In the first city they will be going outside of Daly's place will be in Miami, Florida. So they're not going outside of the state of Florida that week at least. But they will be in Miami, Florida at the James L. Knight Center. It kind of makes me mad that I went to Miami in April. I could have went in July and could have went to the first Dynamite outside of Daly's place. But hey, it happens. But outside of that, the following week on July 14th, they will be in Texas, Cedar Park, Texas, in Austin, Greater Austin, on Wednesday, July 14th from the HEB Center. Now, I don't know how big these arenas are, but I'm assuming they're not pretty big. They're not that large or anything. But Texas will be the first state outside of Florida that Dynamite has been in front of since March of 2020. So good on Texas. Texas, I believe, is one of the other states that have lifted the mask mandate. As far as I know, I believe it's Texas and Mississippi that lifted the that lifted the mask mandate. So I don't know about that one, but hey, we got to get on the road somehow. And I guess they want to go to the cities with less protocol, because I don't think they come to Delaware for a long ass time, if ever. And then on the 21st, the following week will be in Garland, Texas. So they're going back to Texas again. And I'm almost certain they will be going back to Daly's place. They'll circle back around, every once in a while. They might circle back to Daly's place every once a month or something, for all I know. Because I don't think they're going to be able to hit every single state for a while. You know what I mean? I'm looking at the lay of the land right now. You have Florida, which obviously they've been in Florida. You have Texas, which lifted the mandate. Mississippi lifted the mandate. I don't know of many other states that have mandates lifted. Some states are easing up. I know I live in the state of Delaware. They're easing up a bit, but they're still heavy down on, COVID protocol. And obviously that's because Biden lives here. But a lot of states are still pretty heavy on. And I don't think we're going to be getting a lot of like them going to, fucking California and New York City. I don't think they're going to be going to those states just yet. Now, if we talking fall, we talking October, maybe they'll be going back to those states. Like, The goddamn Philadelphia shit I was supposed to go to in April 2020, they got pushed back. That got pushed back twice. And I'm pretty sure the last time, if I go to the AEW website right now, All Elite Wrestling. If I go to the AEW website right now, I'm pretty sure that got pushed back to November 2021. It's like if I could estimate. Hold on. Scroll down. September. Okay, so let's look at the Dynamite listings, right? So, in August 18th, Houston, Texas. August 25th, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. September 8th, Boston, Massachusetts. September 15th is going to be Newark, New Jersey. September 29th is going to be Rochester, New York. And then October 6th is going to be Philadelphia and then onwards. So I feel like when they go back in August, that might be when they start venturing out to those other cities. Like, I expect I hope that by October 6th, I can actually go to AEW Dynamite at the Lear Core Center in Philadelphia, because that's where me and my sister went. That's where I plan on taking my nephew for his first wrestling event, but it got canceled last year. Hopefully, we can actually go then. I didn't actually cancel my ticket, so it should be still available for me to go with my nephew. That's all I know. That's all I care about. I'm happy to see them back on the road. Hopefully, by the time I go back, COVID is starting to, ease up a bit. I haven't actually been checking the COVID, COVID USA, how everything's going as far as this country. Well, there's been a big dip. That's a big dip, actually. So, the height of this country, the United States, was in January 2021, where we had 300,000 new cases in one day in January 8th. Holy shit. And now, in May 10th, we've had 36,000 new cases. Which, that's still a lot of fucking cases. 36,000 is still a lot of goddamn cases. But that's a very big fall. I mean, that's a 10% fall. Right? From 300,000 to 30,000. That's a 10% fall. That's great. Well, I guess 10% fall. Is that a 90%? No, it's a 10% fall. So, am I doing my math correctly? Well, 10% of 300,000 is 30,000. So yeah, it's a 10% fall. I don't think I'm saying that right, but you guys know what I mean. It's a great thing to see that the COVID numbers are actually going down now. But I just hope that by October it'll be closer to like 1,000. And then by next year, it'll be none. So that way I can be fucking going places without a mask again. It was really funny because I was talking to my coworker about this the other day. When I say the other day like it wasn't yesterday. I was in a break room eating. And they were talking to me with their mask off. And I'm sitting here looking at them like, I haven't seen your mask off in I don't know how long. Like, I forgot what your face actually looks like. Like, you really forget what people's face actually looks like when they have the mask on all the time. Like, I don't even want to, I can't even imagine what life will be like when we go back to not wearing masks usually. Like, it's going to feel so weird seeing people without their mask on. And all them uglies out there, they're going to get exposed. Fine. Let me stop. People been getting away with it, man. Y'all know how many times I've seen people without their masks and I'm like, damn, they looking fine as hell. Let me go talk to them. Then I walk up to them. They put their mask down. And I'm like, oh shit, you went from a 10 to a 6. Like, what the fuck? I felt lied to, bro. I felt lied to on these streets. You can't get away with that shit anymore. But let me get back on topic here. I'm getting way off topic. God. Please make sure you like this video and give us 5 stars on if you listen to this on Podbean or whatever the case may be. But getting back into AEW, we still haven't talked about blood and guts yet, but I want to talk about one more thing with AEW. Because last week, AEW was under fire, and they definitely deserve to be under fire. And that's because they decided to wage war on content creators once again. We went through this already in January or December last year, where a bunch of content creators got hit with copyright strikes and copyright claims. And we went through this. Plana Production was the biggest one, and he was talking about, oh, I'm done talking about AEW, all the flip-flop and shit he does. I'm done with AEW and da-da-da-da-da, and then he got his contract, his copyright strike revoked, but then other people got hit. And it wasn't as big of a deal, because not that many people got hit, but people got hit. But last week, on May 6th, everybody, all the big people like C Wrestling UK, Comment 167, people were getting smacked left and right. There are some people I didn't even know about getting smacked left and right. And I'm sitting here dodging bullets because, like I said, I'm lucky because I didn't get hit. Now, maybe God had mercy on me this time because he saw what happened about me and TBSI. He had mercy on me, but I didn't get hit. I didn't get hit. But all I know is that everybody else got hit, and I felt bad for them. Anybody who got hit, I was like, yo, you can hit me up. I'll work with you. I'm no fucking magician. I ain't gonna make your strike disappear, but I'll definitely tell you what I went through and how I got my strikes to come back and how I got my channel back. I'll definitely help you out if you need it. But everybody was getting hit, and people were adding AEW, and then the one big dog got hit, and it sent the rest community over the goddamn circle. And that was Botchamania, the world-renowned Botchamania, who's been around for ages now. He's on Botchamania number 431. I started watching Botchamania in like 87, bro. He was at Botchamania 87 when I first started watching Botchamania. I don't watch every Botchamania, but I knew Botchamania for a long time now. And, to see him get 3 copyright strikes, and his channel got taken down. It wasn't like, oh, he got strikes, now he got his shit taken down. And I was shocked because usually, like my case, I didn't get my channel taken down by TVSIE right away when I got 3 strikes. It got put in pending deletion because I was a YouTube partner. And when you're a YouTube partner with a certain amount of subscribers, they give you a 7-day grace period to figure it out before they take your shit down. His channel got taken down right away, which led me to believe that he's not an actual YouTube partner. Which is interesting, but I guess in his case, when all of your content is literally, let's be honest here, Botchamania, though it's funny, it's literally all copyrighted content. People just let him do it because that's his legacy, and that's the legacy of wrestling, so he gets away with it. Because in actuality, if WWE or AEW or any company in the world wanted to take his shit down, they could. Now, maybe he could argue parody is the reason why they can't take it down, but still, as you saw AEW, they can. And people were adding AEW, oh my god, please help Botchamania. That Aubrey Edwards even tweeted at him like, yo, we're on the case. And here's the thing that really had me confused. Aubrey Edwards responded to Matthew on Twitter. Not anybody else, but Matthew, specifically. And she responded with, hey, this is an issue happening right now. YouTube's automated copyright strikes. We're on the case. We're trying to fix it. And I'm sitting here like, okay, I'm happy he's getting his issue fixed. But is everybody else getting their issue fixed? What about everybody else? You know what I mean? But I'm like, all right, let him get to work. Maybe he'll get his issue fixed and everybody else first. Because, Matthew's important to the rest of the community, so he gets his issue resolved first. So I'm sitting there wondering, what the hell is an automated issue supposed to mean? They keep on saying automated this, automated that, but they're not explaining what is going on. And that's what really was confusing me and making me mad. It's like, y'all keep saying we're going to fix it, but y'all not saying why this happened. Like the who, the what, the when, the where might be important, but the why is also very, very important. Why is this happening? How did this happen? How did that happen for a second time is the better question, because it happened last year and nobody was trying to say it. I didn't see Aubrey Edwards tweet about it last year. I didn't see Cody tweet about it. Actually, Cody said some remark about it, but I didn't see AEW tweeting about it last year. But this time, everybody, once Botchamania got hit, then they started tweeting about it. And like, oh, guys, calm down. Hold on, we gonna handle it. And I'm not trying to sound petty against Botchamania, but I'm just saying, it was something I noticed. So he did eventually end up getting his strikes retracted, which I'm happy for him. I'm good for him. But then everybody else is just kind of waiting in the dark. Everybody else got automated responses, vague bot responses. And I'm pretty sure people still to this day have not gotten their strikes resolved yet. But my only thing about this whole situation is that this is the second time this has happened now. The second time in like 6 months that this has happened. Who's to say this won't happen a third time? I just want AEW to make a statement about this. They don't gotta, I'm not saying they gotta come on here and publicly apologize to every single person they copyright strike, but I just want them to make a statement regarding what happened, why it happened, and what exactly are content creators supposed to do about your content. Because it is such a great area at this point about AEW content. Videos got hit, pictures got hit, audio apparently got hit too. So what the fuck is what do you want us to do? Now here's the closest thing I can give you to AEW and their copyright thing. Let's go to AEW's YouTube channel. And this happened right after the whole Planet Productions things, just to note that. Go to any AEW video, go to the description, and you'll see right at the bottom, and this is in every video after the Plana Productions incidents, I swear to you. Because if you go to the original AEW videos, it's not there. It's only after 2020. It says, this video is AEW intellectual property. It is intended for private use for our audience, No part of this show may be reproduced, broadcast, or exhibited in any form or by any means without the consent of AEW. It is prohibited for users to generate revenue from the broadcast or exhibition by the user of any AEW content, including media scrums or other editorial materials without the consent of AEW. So I just want them to publicly state that, because it is in the comments, it is in the description, and not everybody reads the fucking description. Once they state that out, it's pretty much out there. Like, y'all treading heavy waters by doing that. Nobody really can question it by that point. And what this basically says is, you are only allowed to use AEW content if we allow you. So basically, what this means is, Matthew is able to do it because he's allowed to do it. Somebody at AEW said Matthew's allowed to do it. Everybody who's got hit, you're not allowed to do it. So the preferential treatment is going to bite them in the ass, I think. Because why is Matthew allowed to do it but not me? Why is Matthew allowed to do it but not them? I think that's a very good question to ask AEW. Like, why is that so special, but I can't do a review without getting hit? That's what I want to know. That's what I really want to know. But now, we'll talk about some blood and guts. Now, I saw this last week. So these notes I wrote down, they are accurate, but I'm reading my notes. I'm going to recollect as I go, but here we go. So for the opening match of the show, we had Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston versus MT Nakazawa and Kenny. I'm not going to do it. Kenny Omega. Now, when MT came out, he came out with Don Callis, not Kenny Omega. And Don Callis rambling on about Kenny Omega is not here, even though Kenny Omega is supposed to be on a show because we're supposed to find out who his championship opponent is going to be at Double or Nothing. But Kenny Omega's not here, and this leads Kenny Omega to attack Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston from behind as they're making their way down to the ring. And Eddie Kingston gets into the ring, and the match legally starts off with Omega and Kingston. You know, Nakazawa and Omega beat down Kingston for a while, get some tags in there. I don't remember the match really that much. I feel like I could have remembered it being a lot better. What I can say is I did like Moxley and Eddie Kingston's finisher. It was like this clothesline Half Nelson combination. I think Moxley did the lariat, and then Kingston did like a half Nelson suplex. Like it was a dope ass tag team finisher, and they got the pin over Nakazawa, and that's how they won the match. I predicted last week that Kingston would pin Omega, but that's my fantasy booking cap. I don't even know why I was saying that was going to happen, but they did win the match, so I got that part right. And after the celebration, Young Bucks come out, and Tony Schiavone is saying, looking like a shit. He says that Matt Jackson came out here looking like a shower curtain, just roasting this man. I mean, because they do. Like, the Young Bucks, they're heels now, full-on heels. Finally, they figured out what they want to be. But what is this? What is this Bullet Club? They call themselves like the Super Elite now, but they just dress goofy as hell now. You had fucking Matt Jackson looking like a shower curtain, Nick Jackson looking like whatever the hell, and then you have fucking the Good Brothers coming out here, also looking goofy as hell with glasses and a top hat or Beretta on. Like, who's supposed to take them seriously when they're dressed like this? Who's supposed to take them seriously exactly? I don't know. Good wrestlers, but I don't know. So they all came out and they beat down Moxley and Kingston, which I'm sitting here like, okay, so if Moxley and Kingston are not facing Omega, why are they still feuding with Omega? I don't get that point. But the segment ends, and then we get the announcement, finally, after weeks of basically propositioning it to be that, they finally announced that at Double or Nothing, Hikaru Shida will be defending her AEW Women's World Championship against Dr. Britt Baker. And this, if there were any point in time to take that belt off of Shida and put it on Britt Baker, this is the time. There is no time better than the present. Sheeta's been champion long enough. It will be a full calendar year at Double or Nothing. It is time. There is nobody else on the roster that I could think should be facing or beating her. Britt Baker is the hottest person they have. She is the best character that they have. Britt Baker should be the person beating her. But I'll be talking about that at a later date when we have to get to Double or Nothing, which will probably be in 2 weeks. We have QT Marshall versus Cody Rhodes. And this match was alright. I mean, Cody Rhodes is in here doing his thing. It was nice not seeing Cody Rhodes for about a few weeks. I will say that much. It was nice not seeing him. I wish he would have got written off of TV. He just kind of disappeared without a trace, and then he came back. I think the dumbest spot of this match, I would have to say, is when Arn Anderson gets beside himself in the match, and he hand shoves QT Marshall. QT then punches and begins like pushing this man's head against the not QT. Arn Anderson begins punching QT in the head and grinding his head against the ring post outside of the ring. Full view of the referee doing this. Like, these guys are just bold as hell tonight. But Cody Rhodes in here, hitting his sunset flips, superplexes, the whole 9 yards. I think the most noteworthy spot of the match was the double tombstone counter, which looked kind of dumb. But QT Marshall tried for a tombstone, then Cody countered, then QT countered, then Cody countered, and he hit a tombstone, but only got a 2 count. He tried for the crossroads. He hits it. It only gets a 2 count again. Then he locks in a figure 4 leg lock. Now Cody's bleeding. To this day, I don't know when this happened. It might just be because it's Cody Rhodes and he just starts bleeding for no fucking reason at this point. But Cody Rhodes starts bleeding, and then QT taps out, and Cody wins the match. And I'm like, all right, well, Cody won, so that's the end of the feud. I'm assuming this is the end of the feud. They're not doing it at Double or Nothing because Cody won. There's nothing left. I personally would have had QT won. QT's the new faction with the factory. He's the new heel. I don't know what they're breeding him for. Obviously, it was to breed him to beat for him to lose to fucking Cody Rhodes. Like, I'm just looking at this like, so you mean to tell me you guys turn QT heel, have him standing tall over the Nightmare Family, only for like a month and a half later him to lose to Cody? Okay. Am I supposed to take QT Marshall seriously after this point? Like, what are you going to do with him? He's going to start feuding with Darby Allin? Like, where do you go with QT Marshall after he just lost to Cody? It's not even like this is like a blow-off. I mean, this is a blow-off. Right? It's not even like this is the beginning of their long-running feud. If it was, Cody got the win back already. It don't even matter. Like, didn't Cody beat them in their first match, too? I don't remember QT Marshall winning the first match that led into the heel turn. QT looks like a little bitch compared to Cody right now, so I'm a bit over the feud. So then we get an Ethan Page. Oh, yeah, after the match, Anthony Ogogo gut checks Cody and drapes a Union Jack flag over him. So I don't know if they're building up Anthony Ogogo versus Cody at Double or Nothing, which I don't... That's kind of very, very, very late to build up. I mean, it's not late because technically he already gut checked Cody in the past, but I don't know. That feud does nothing for me. Nothing for me. I think I would rather them do QT and Cody rematch than do Anthony Ogogo and Cody at Double or Nothing, but we'll see what happens. And if they do that match, I'm almost certain Cody will win that match as well. But then we get an Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky segment. They're at the very top of the arena, like in the stands. And apparently Scorpio Sky takes out Sting with an injury, and Sting's going to be gone for a while, which was fine by me because I don't remember seeing Sting on this show. So that was perfectly fine by me. But I want to talk about that in a bit too. So they're talking about, we took Sting out, and then Darby comes out. This is the funniest thing ever, because Darby was not even in the shot. This dude just flies. I mean, this dude flies into both of them. Just catapults himself into both men. It was the funniest thing ever. And he's trying to fight both of these men off by himself, and he gets beat up. And eventually, he gets thrown down a flight of steps by Scorpio Sky, because Darby Allin cannot, for the life of him, not risk his own life. Now, for a second, I thought they were gonna threaten to throw him off the fucking balcony and kill him because it's Darby Allin. I wouldn't be surprised if Darby Allin agreed to that. Like, well, anything for the TV. Like, I feel like Darby Allin is borderline. Let me not say that. I feel like Darby Allin at any point in his life is just ready to accept death. Like, this dude, I've seen him take some of the gnarliest bumps of all time. Like, Jeff Hardy has taken some bumps. I've seen goddamn Mick Foley get thrown off a goddamn cell. Now, mind you, I haven't seen every Mick Foley bump in my entire lifetime. But in the 20 years I've been alive, Darby Allin's done some very, like, bruh, you doing a lot right now. I mean, this is far from it. But I would have been surprised if they would have had him, maybe not throw him off and kill him literally, because that's murder, but threaten to throw him off the goddamn balcony. Like, I would not have been surprised. They threw him down the steps, and that was the segment. We got Dr. Britt Baker versus Julia Hart. My coworker said that was Owen Hart's daughter, which I don't think so, because they didn't mention it on commentary. Then when I looked it up, they didn't say anything about it. But it was a squash match. Bret Hart beat her, and that was it. The Technique by Taz segment came back, and I was happy to see that, because on the live stream the previous week, I mentioned how I wanted to see that come back, and it's back. So they're obviously listening to my Twitch streams. And this one was basically based on Christian, like based on how Christian should be doing this. It was nice to see the segment come back, put it that way. We then got the Varsity Blondes, Brian Pillman Jr. and Griff Garrison. Speaking of Brian Pillman Jr., Dark Side of the Ring came back last week. I haven't checked out the Dark Side of the Ring episode on BPJ just yet. Well, I guess BPS, Brian Pillman Sr. just yet. But when I do, I'll be sure to review it. They went up against Jurassic Express of Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, SCU, Christopher Daniels, and Frank Kazarian, and the Acclaimed Anthony Bowens and Max Caster. Anthony Bowens now back in action, which was funny because I barely remember seeing the Acclaimed in this match after the first couple minutes. I don't remember ever seeing the Acclaimed again. But they had their match. SCU got the win, hitting their BME Tombstone combination onto Brian Pillman Jr. And that solidified them a future tag team championship match against the Young Bucks. We then got a promo package for Jon Moxley versus Yuji Nagata happening this week on Dynamite, which I am amped for. And then we got to the Kenny Omega segment. Tony Schiavone's out on the ramp. They're actually in the actual arena, because the first part of the show took place in front of a live studio audience, basically. Basically, the first part of the show was pre-taped, and the last half was actually live in front of the audience. Kenny Omega comes out with all three belts, the Impact, AEW, and TNA championship. Good. He was just missing that Mega Coupe championship from AAA. So he's talking and talking and talking. And then the announcement comes that Pac versus Orange Cassidy next week will be a AEW title eliminator match. And the winner will face Kenny Omega at Double or Nothing for the AEW World Championship. Now, on paper, I love this. I love to see Pac and Orange Cassidy again, because they had an amazing match last year. But for the AEW Championship, that didn't make any sense to me. Then Orange Cassidy comes out, and Kenny Omega goes on his long, drawn-out... And I know he was buying time, but Kenny Omega was just talking and talking and talking, and Orange Cassidy's just standing there and I'm like, bro, come on, we get the point. Move on. Like, I don't like listening to Kenny Omega speak, but listening to him speak for 5 minutes, I'm like, bro, I'm over this segment. But here's the thing about this that I don't like. Number one, we've been building up Heyman Page practically to face Kenny Omega for like a month or two now. Then he loses to Brian Cage, and it's it for him. Like, that's literally just it. They're not even going to get back to it or nothing. But now, I'm supposed to buy that Pac and Orange Cassidy are main event talent. Because normally, you only have main eventers compete for the AEW World Championship, or people built up to face the AEW World Champion. I don't remember Pac ever being built up singles-wise to face Kenny Omega. And I damn sure don't remember Orange Cassidy being built up singles-wise to face Kenny Omega. Now, if this were 2020, and you wanted to do Orange Cassidy versus Jon Moxley, or Orange Cassidy versus Chris Jericho, whoever the champion is in 2020, and I mean early 2020, when he was hot and heavy, if you wanted to do that, I would have bought it. But now, when Orange Cassidy is cooled off, it's a little late to be doing this. And the fact that Orange Cassidy came out and Kenny Omega was dressing him down, you all but confirmed who's winning next week. You don't even have to do the match. I know Orange Cassidy's winning. Because why would Orange Cassidy come out here and stare down Kenny Omega if Pac's going to win? That doesn't make any sense. So now you've already told me who the winner is going to be. It's going to be Orange Cassidy. And the thought of Orange Cassidy versus Kenny Omega as a match, that sounds like it's going to be great. I don't want y'all to think I'm hating on the match because, Orange Cassidy is not main event material. Like, the match itself sounds like it's going to be great. But my thing is, they did not position Orange Cassidy to be in this spot. It does not feel natural. It feels like it was thrown together. You've been building up this feud between Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley for like the last 5 months. They did the match in December, and Omega won. Then they did the rematch at Revolution in February, and Omega won again. And ever since Omega beat Moxley, and Moxley and Kingston been teaming up and, friends again, they continued the feud. Every week, Moxley and Omega are having some interaction. Every week, Kingston and Omega are having some interaction. Every week, Kingston and Moxley against the Elite, the Super Elite, the Bullet Club Elite, whatever you want to call them motherfuckers now. Every week, it's Moxley and Kingston getting the main event showcased. Like they're contending for the world title. But then all of a sudden you slap Pac and Orange Cassidy. What does Pac and Orange Cassidy have to do with this feud? You've been building up Moxley and Kingston. At this point, I want to see Moxley and Kingston. I wanted to see Moxley and Kingston versus the Young Bucks, but it didn't seem like that's what they were building up to. But now, it's Pac and Orange. When did you ever even start hinting at Pac having issues with Kenny Omega? That's the point where it doesn't make any sense to me. Because Pac's been so focused with Phoenix as a tag team, he hasn't even once mentioned Kenny Omega in promos or even hinted at going after the World Championship. Orange Cassidy has never once hinted at wanting to go for the World Championship. So and I don't remember, now the rankings might be different now. Let me check the AEW rankings. For, 5-1-21. What were the rankings for 5-1-21? Let's see. The rankings for 4-28-1. Alright, so in 4-28-21, which was 2 weeks ago, Orange Cassidy was number 2, and Pac was number 4. So they moved up the rankings because they have wins. Which, okay, if you're going by the rankings, fine. Fine. But storyline-wise, it does not make any fucking sense that Kenny Omega has been feuding with Jon Moxley for 5 months and feuding with Eddie Kingston for 2 of those months. But now Orange Cassidy's been thrown in last minute and he's going to be facing Kenny Omega. That makes 0 sense to me. 0 sense. And I'll say it again. I think they're going to have a great match. And if it's Pac, which make less than 0 sense, they will have a great match. But to build this up to your main event of Double or Nothing 2 weeks before Double or Nothing is lazy. It's lazy and it's rushed. They should have just went with a triple threat match at this point, honestly. AEW needs to do better with that. Because if you knew this is what you were doing, this is why I think it's rushed. If they knew they were going to do Kenny Omega versus Orange Cassidy, they should have been building this up a month, at least a month prior to this. They should have been building this up in April. You had a long time to build this up. Orange Cassidy wasn't injured. Trent was injured, not Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy was busy feuding with Miro and Kip Sabian. And then after he stopped feuding with Miro and Kip Sabian, what was Orange Cassidy doing? Wrestling on Dark and Dark Elevation. That's my issue. The rankings, they don't give me a reason to give a fuck about the rankings. The rankings aren't even accurate most of the times. Y'all just throw motherfuckers on there just to get them in feuds and storylines. And that's fine. But pretend like the rankings fucking matter. Make up your mind. Does it matter? Does it not? Because now they pick and choose when the rankings are supposed to mean something. That's why I don't check the rankings. Which is why when this match was announced, I'm like, why is this match now? Now that I look at the rankings, it makes sense. But even with the rankings, you're not even building up to okay. I'm trying to make sense of this. And the more I try to make sense of it, the more it just does not make sense from a booking standpoint. You know what I mean? If this were a match happening on Dynamite, like if this championship match was happening on Dynamite, okay. Do Kenny Omega versus Orange Cassidy on Dynamite. Do it. But Double or Nothing is the biggest show of the year for them. And to have the main event feud be built up in 2 weeks is lazy. So no, they don't get a pass for that. That is lazy. You had Heyman Page positioned to be in that spot, and then he took 1 out, and that was it. He was done. Jon Moxley was positioned to be in that spot, and now he's not. So, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. And I'm just saying, ever since Kenny Omega's been the world champion, them world title pictures, they've been very questionable. Ever since Jon Moxley dropped the title, the world championship pictures have been very, very hit and miss. And right now, it's missing. It is missing a lot. And it's been ever since Revolution, really, that they don't know what to do with Kenny Omega in the world title picture. I'm just hoping that after Double or Nothing, they really figure it out. Because after Double or Nothing is when they start doing, your Fighter Fest. They start doing the Fight for the Fallens. They start doing, your casual June, July, big Dynamite specials. And after you may get a world championship match. Please figure this out. And it's just a little nitpick. I don't want to make it seem like it's a humongous issue for me, but it's something I want to point out. But moving on from there, Jon Moxley, Yuji Nagata. I'm excited for that next week. And then we had this very, very, very interesting segment with Miro. Miro, he comes out and he's like, I signed a contract that states I'll be facing Darby Allin for the TNT Championship next week. And I'm like, yes. We're finally getting Miro with the chip because Miro versus Darby Allin is next week. You know what? Fuck it. While we're at it, let's do a Dynamite preview for next week. Because Dynamite this week is looking very stacked. I keep on saying next week. Dynamite this week looks very stacked. And I'll look up the match card for you. Because I don't have it here. You have Miro versus Darby Allin for the TNT Championship. You have the Young Bucks versus SCU for the Tag Team Championships, where if FCU lose, they have to break up. You have Orange Cassidy versus Pac, and the winner's going to face Kenny Omega at Double or Nothing. And then you have Jon Moxley versus Yuji Nagata for the IWGP United States Championship. That is a can't-miss Dynamite, and I'm so excited to see it tomorrow. But now let's talk about Blood and Guts. Blood and Guts was their 5-on-5 version of the War Games match. And I thought it was a really good match. It wasn't the best War Games match I saw because NXT has done 4 of them now. And I would say in the ones I've seen between the 4 NXT ones and the one, I guess 6 because they had 2 women's ones. The 4 NXT ones and the 1 AEW War Games match I've seen, it's probably somewhere in the middle. Not the top, not the bottom, but it's somewhere in the middle. And everybody was bleeding. There were some blade jobs in here, some noticeable ones, and people were quick to say, "Oh, everybody bleeding in this match." Come on, guys, you really think they're gonna bust each other open hard way? I know it happens sometimes, but they gotta protect each other, man. Calm down with that girl and stuff. Calm down. But you had Sammy and Dax starting off. Then as it went on, Cash Wheeler came in, Santana came in, Wardlow came in, Jericho came in. It was good. I'm not gonna sit here and call the spots. I enjoyed it. The finish came when they exited the cage, which I thought was funny. They exited the cage, even though there's a cage on top of it. They exit the cage, and MJF starts climbing. Jericho falls behind him. Now, what I can say about this is that the commercial breaks did kill the flow of the match. I feel like this match would have been more enjoyable if there were no commercial breaks, which TNT probably could have negotiated a non-commercial break match because they've done it before, but for whatever reason they did not. They were climbing the cage. And MJF is begging Jericho, please don't do it, please don't do it. Jericho locks in the walls of Jericho on him. and I don't know if I don't think he tapped out or anything. But MJF manages to low blow Chris Jericho and locks him in the salt of the earth lock. And Jericho's threatening to tap out, but he doesn't. And Jericho is getting beat down. MJF gets the Dynamite Dozen ring, punches Jericho in the face, gets him up, and then he gets the bright idea. He's gonna take Chris Jericho to the edge of the cage and threaten to throw him off. And Sammy's like, "No, don't do it." And Sammy Guevara quits, which is the way to lose the match. You have to either tap out or surrender. And Sammy Guevara, saving his best friend Chris Jericho, surrenders because friendship is important. Which I like the story of it, honestly. He surrenders for Chris Jericho's life, and that gives Pinnacle the win of the match. And like the heel that he is, MJF throws Chris Jericho off the cage anyway. And this sent fans over the edge because it's like Chris Jericho went over the edge, right? Sent fans over the edge because when Chris Jericho lands, you can see him land on a crash pad, which looks like a bed, honestly. A crash pad, and the steel was basically made out of wood. Very apparent. Fans on Twitter, social media losing their minds. Oh my God, I can't believe AEW show. Now, here's what I will say. Looking back on it, there were some fans that were kind of like, oh, why did Chris Jericho fall on that? And I'm like, guys, did you want him to fall on concrete and die? What the fuck else was he going to fall on? But then there were also fans who were saying it was production, and I will agree with those fans. AEW could produce that segment a lot better. They could have easily kept the angle of the backside of MJF when he throws Chris Jericho off and have Chris Jericho land, but don't show Chris Jericho landing. Just show Chris Jericho falling out of frame, and then maybe take a few seconds to clean up the shot, take the little wood pieces out of the way or whatever. And then cut to Chris Jericho on the mat, seething and angering and, in pain and everything. But the way they showed it, it looked so fake and protected, which you should protect the wrestler. You're not going to have the wrestler go out and die for this shit. Like, it's not worth it, bro. So, yes, I'm not mad at the spot Chris Jericho took. I'm just mad at the way it was produced and the way it came across on TV because it just looked so fake. But, yeah, Chris Jericho falls on that. And that was the end of the segment. And I'm glad the Pinnacle won. They should have won because they're the new faction. But what do you do with the Inner Circle now? They've already lost. This should be the end of it. Unless they're doing a Stadium Stampede match at Double or Nothing, which they could. If they wanted to, they could. Unless they're doing Stadium Stampede at Double or Nothing, what do you do with the Pinnacle? I mean, the Inner Circle. Personally, like I said on the Twitch stream last week, I would have them amicably break up. Not a turn, but just them sit down and like, hey, let's take some time off from each other. Let's just do our thing, and we could collect and recuperate a bit later. That's what I would do. Not Wardlow, he's in the Pinnacle. Jake Hager and Chris Jericho, they can do their thing together as a tag team because they were a tag team for a bit before. Sammy Guevara could be a singles. You could have Santana Ortiz be a babyface tag team because I would love to see Santana Ortiz's babyfaces go up against the Young Bucks' heels and chase after the tag team titles. Maybe you could do that at Fyter Fest or Fight for the Fallen. And then you can do, what's the other guy? I forgot the other guy. Oh my God. Santana Ortiz. No, that's all of them. That's all of them. So yeah, you can have all those guys doing something different. And then maybe a few months from now, they can recoup, or when somebody's getting beat down, they can, come together and fight off the bad guys again. That's what I would do at least. But we'll see what they do in the future. And that was Blood and Guts. But now, let's talk about MLW. MLW Fusion, they had their season finale last week. But at the very end of the season finale, we got the reveal of El Jefe, who was revealed as none other the Lucha Underground's Dario Cueto. And I was like, bitch, let's go. He was revealed as the leader of Azteca Underground, and that's how they went off air. So it looks like MLW's returning on July 10th in Philadelphia at the 2300 Arena, which I plan to go to. And Dario Cueto will be there. It looks like we're getting a Azteca Underground, basically a Lucha Underground-esque version of MLW. I will be there for their very first episode as Azteca Underground. I will be there in attendance. If they go out there and they show out and they outperform and it is great, I will tune in for MLW. I will. So I hope that is what's going to happen. It will be like Lucha Underground, not a carbon copy. I don't need a carbon copy, but something similar. That's all I ask for. And lastly, before we hop up out of here, I was going to do 50 fan questions, but I have no time for it. We'll do it next week, I'm sure. Talk about New Japan. New Japan Pro Wrestling has had to cancel upcoming shows. They had a statement on Friday, May 7th. The Japanese government has announced an extension to the state of emergency currently placed in Tokyo and other prefectures in Japan. In light of this announcement, as well as current COVID-19 infection status, because like upwards of 8 talent in New Japan have gotten COVID, which is not good at all. New Japan Pro Wrestling has arrived at the decision to postpone Wrestle Grand Slam Yokohama and the Tokyo Dome, previously scheduled for May 15th to the 29th. And they haven't announced it yet, but many of the other tours this month are canceled. So no New Japan for the rest of May. Not just New Japan, but Stardom. Stardom, they don't have any reported COVID cases that are positive, but they canceled their upcoming shows. Tokyo Dream Cinderella, happening on May 29th, the same day as Double or Nothing, and the same day as Tokyo Grand Slam. The same day as, Tokyo Grand Slam. That's been canceled too. So Stardom, they're postponing a lot of their shows. DDT, Noah, Dragon Gate, they're postponing. Japan they're getting a very bad resurgence. Let me look at this. Japan COVID. Yeah, their cases are climbing up. Now, mind you, they're at 4,000 new cases every day. Well, we're still at 30,000 new cases every day, and we're still lifting shit. But they're suspending shit, and the Olympics are right around the corner. Like, right around the corner. I believe the Olympics start in June or July. So that's really questionable if we're going to be in time for the Olympics or not. Going back to New Japan, the same thing happened last year where they were off for 3 months. Now, my hoping is that they come back enough time where it won't impact them too negatively. Because Lord knows last year when all this happened, they were rough for a while. And the booking's been rough ever since, but they were rough shape for a while. They didn't have all the roster. You got 8 people down, suspending shows. So even though last year they fucked me over, TBSI did, I hope for the best for New Japan and every company in Japan. But guys, we're going to tune up out of here. That was Chill Spill Podcast, episode 46. What do you guys think? Comment down below. Let your boy know. I promised the SmackDown review last week. I did not have time to really check out SmackDown, but I will check it out this week, so make sure to stay tuned to the Tyler Williams channel. We got that coming up. Impact Under Siege, I might be watching that live on Saturday. WrestleMania Backlash on Sunday, I might be watching that as well. We got some things coming up on the channel. Keep your eye out. Keep your eye out, that's all I can say. But thank you all for tuning in. I love you guys always, and I will see you all next week for episode 47. Peace out, guys.